Welcome to episode 1425 of The Sleeper and the Bust. I am Justin Mason without Paul Sporer, who is on vacation this weekend going to see some Savannah Bananas play and do some scouting. But I'm bringing in Joe. He was on the IL for a really long time, and now he's on back-to-back episodes, really coming through in the clutch here. Joe, how you doing?
It's like when you activate a guy and he hits a home run on the first day. I hope I can hit a home run today for everybody listening. I really like this pod, the two-start pitcher pod, so I hope I can do it justice with Paul away this week. But good to see you, my friend. It's been too long.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not been the same without you, to be honest. It's hard to kind of keep Paul wrangled in when it's just me. It really is. And now we don't have to worry about Paul, as like I said, he's on vacation. He's going to go see the Savannah Bananas play this weekend. But you and I are going to talk some two starts. And because Paul's not here, I got to do the rundown, which means every single two start is on the rundown, some of which we won't spend much time on at all, and then some of which we'll, of course, dig deeper into. But let's start with the breaking news. Corbin Burnes getting TJ. You mentioned this as we started chatting before we hit the record button. Obviously an easy drop. But what are you doing in a dynasty league? At this point, Corbin Burnes is not on the right side of 30. He's now going to be lost for pretty much all of next year.
Yeah.
Are we saying like, hey, like, am I buying low in a dynasty league right now?
I think that would be kind of a risky thing to do, just considering his trajectory the last couple of years. Like, yes, 2.66 ERA, 2.92 the last couple of years is still very good, but he's been really outperforming his expected numbers in a way that he wasn't in his true peak years of 21 and 22. And we've seen the strikeout rate come down this year. The walk rate has gone up. I guess that can open the discussion of how long has he been dealing with an injury. Maybe part of it has been that there's been a problem in the elbow going back longer than we realized, but I don't know that you can really do much with him. I think if you have him, you're just holding him. He's not somebody that I would be seeking out to acquire unless you're getting a really nice discount on him. You kind of just have to hope and pray that when he comes back, and he'll be 32 years old, most likely next time he throws a major league pitch, that you kind of just have to hope that he is able to rebound to the pre-injury levels. But this is concerning, considering that his strikeout rate has gone down every year, pretty much going back to 2020. This year, it's maintained what it was last year, but he's been on kind of a rough trajectory. So I think it's really tough to say what we're going to see going forward. But the best of Corbin Burnes is his career, unfortunately, is probably in the rear view.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would try to buy low if I could, but it'd have to be really low. Like, you'd have to, like, would you trade? I'm trying to think of hey, this is a good one. Like, would you trade Carlos Rodon if you're rebuilding for Corbin Burnes? I don't know if I would, honestly.
I think I would probably just keep Rodon. We talked about him a little bit yesterday. He's been so good. He's been so good, but he had also been on kind of a bad trajectory the last couple of years. So he's somebody where I'm not sure if the bottom is going to fall out at some point. We've talked about his batting average against yesterday, and it's like 165. It's going to regress, but I still think you take the healthy arm for the next couple of years, unless you're truly in a tear down rebuild and you're just selling everything. I think I would just keep Rodon.
I'm trying to think of a good. What about like a Nick Pivetta?
I've been a Pivetta guy for a few years, but I feel like he's just so inconsistent. Like, yes, he seems to have figured things out now, but I don't know if I would expect that to carry over the rest of his career at this point. I think I would probably just hold on to Burnes, although that's a decent offer. I don't think it's a bad offer, but I think I would probably just hold on to Burnes at this point.
Oh, I got a good one. If you had Kevin Gausman in your rebuilding, would you trade Kevin Gausman for Burnes? And do you think the Burnes owner would take that?
I would do it. I don't know that that's getting accepted, because Gausman's also been on a little bit of a tricky trajectory the last couple of years. That splitter is really a volatile pitch. We saw when it was working for a few years, he was brilliant, but now the strikeout rates are fairly pedestrian, 24%. It's good, but it's not great. He had been in the 23-25% range. I don't think that's enough, personally. Yeah. I don't think that's getting the deal done.
All right. I think you're probably right on all this. All right, let's jump into some two starts. Like I said, we got a really long list because I just included everybody. But some of these we're gonna breeze right through, including the first couple. I think we'll see what you say. With Cade Povich, home versus Detroit and the Angels. Povich has been not very good. Has not really lived up to the prospect hype that he had coming up. Would you be willing to roll him out against a pretty much top tier offense in Detroit and not very good one in Los Angeles?
Got to be a no for me. Detroit is scary enough. And I was actually recording on the wire this afternoon with Kevin Hastings, and he was talking about how he really likes to look at 3-week sample sizes because that's roughly a full season's worth of at-bats for one player. If you look at a 3-week sample size for a team, that is, it generally is about a full season's worth of at-bats for a player. And over those last 3 weeks, the Angels have been really good. It kind of coincided with when Mike Trout came back, but they've been a top 3 team in terms of WRC plus over the last 3 weeks. So Detroit is definitely the more scary option there, but I don't think I would roll him out even in a 15-teamer. This one is pretty scary.
And weirdly, Povich has been absolutely terrible at home.
Yeah.
Like absolutely terrible. He's given up 8 of his 9 home runs at home in less innings. He's a 7.24 ERA. Yeah, I wouldn't put this on any team, honestly. Yeah. Even AL only, I don't think I want to start Povich. If I have him, you probably have to if you're an AL only, but I don't know that I want to. Yeah. What about Brian Bayo, who is one of these guys, again, who has not really lived up to the hype that people have had for him. He has been okay this season, a 3.91 ERA in 46 innings, but he's struggled to go deeper than 4 2/3 in 5 of his last 6 starts. However, his last start, he did go 6 innings, went 6 innings against the Angels, and allowed 3 runs, 4 strikeouts. So kind of a pedestrian line, but at least he went deep enough to qualify for a win. He's got matchups versus Tampa Bay and versus the Yankees, not in Tampa Bay, at home for both of these. Any chance you're starting Brian Bayo?
I'm pretty terrified of some of the underlying stuff. Like he has not even a 5% strikeout minus walk rate, 16 on the strikeouts, 11.5 on the walks, a 161 whip. He's getting barreled up 9% of the time. The strikeouts have just disappeared, and so have the swinging strikes. I mean, the zone contact against is 90%. It's pretty dark story underneath the hood. I think I would need to be really, really desperate here. Maybe if it's a DC where I have a ton of injuries or a team that's just really been injury plagued, maybe, but I would have to hold my breath for this one.
I'm not super worried about the Rays on the road, right? When the Rays are away from Tampa Bay, but the Yankees coming to town, that does scare me enough where I don't think I'm risking this one. And he has not gone deep enough in games consistently enough to even qualify for a win. So I don't, to me, like, what are you shooting for? If he's not getting strikeouts and the underlying, ERA indicators are all telling you, hey, regression is coming, and he can't go deep enough for a win, I don't even think he should be rostered in a lot of 15-team leagues. He's going to be, but I don't think he should be. I think there's still a lot of people kind of living off that name value at the moment.
Yeah. And he's never given us anything. He's never really done anything to deserve it. He was just kind of a highly touted guy, but we're in year 4 now. We're in year 4 of this, and he has a 4.37 career ERA, 1.44 whip, 11% strikeout minus walk rate. Maybe he figures it out eventually, but not right now.
And there's been a stuff drop every year. 105 stuff plus in 2022, 102 in 2023, 97 last year. This year, 93. Like, it's just the stuff has gotten worse and worse. And you have to wonder if, like, there's just been injuries along the way, and we know he's missed time. But at some point, we need to see something before we can really gamble on it.
Yeah.
What about Clark Schmidt? This is another guy that people have had really, really high hopes for. 4.04 ERA so far this season in 49 innings. A little bit over a strikeout in inning with 50 strikeouts there. So, pretty intriguing stuff, at least underlying. xERA is 3.05. He's got starts at Kansas City, which you kind of love, but then at Boston, who kind of been up and down offensively. So where are you at on Clark Schmidt this week?
I'm a Clark Schmidt fan. I drafted a lot of him. I have him on a lot of draft and hold teams. And the thing that'll probably stand out to a lot of people is that the walk rate has jumped up into double digits this year. But I think a lot of that just comes down to a couple of bad starts when he's still getting his feet wet. 5 walks against the Mets, 4 walks against Toronto. Other than that, he's been pretty solid. The strikeouts, 2 of the last 3 games, he's got 8 strikeouts. I like this. I like starting him. Specifically, you're targeting the Kansas City matchup, but I'm willing to eat the Boston matchup to get him in there against Kansas City. They've been absolutely awful offensively, and I do think that Jack Caglione probably does help that out. But if you're looking at WRC plus on the season, they're 26 with an 84 team WRC plus. Boston 104. They do scare you a little bit, but I would be willing to take this risk on.
Yeah, I mean, it scares you a little bit going to Boston, but I mean, it's not any worse than pitching in New York, right? Like, no. And you get that Yankees offense behind you. You get Kansas City to start the week. You got to kind of love some of these underlying numbers on Schmidt. His best swing strike rate of his career. He's allowing below league average zone contact. He's got his best O swing of his career. And he's really firing it in the zone. A huge zone percentage rate jump from 49.3 to 53.6. And usually when we're talking about zone rate, I remind people like, hey, a small jump in zone rate, 1 or 2% can mean big things. And we're talking about a 4% jump in zone rate for Clark Schmidt. I think that walk rate might actually come down at some point, which would be really, really nice because it kind of helped soften that 129 whip. But I do think that Clark Schmidt is a guy you want to be starting here this week. And I think most weeks kind of moving forward as long as he's healthy.
Yeah, he was really good last season before he got hurt. And people kind of just forgot about it. I think that he's probably owned pretty much everywhere. Yeah, he's 100% in the OC. But shallower leagues, if you're playing like Yahoo or ESPN type leagues, he's going to be on some waiver wires for sure.
All right, now let's get to Shane Baz, who, like, I was kicking myself at the start of the season because he started off really, really hot. And I was like, man, I let people talk me out of him. But since then, he has just been absolutely atrocious. I mean, just getting blown up left and right. His last 2 starts, he's allowed 3 earned runs in less than 6 innings. So not even qualifying for quality start. He did get a win last time out against the Rangers, but still allowed those 3 earned runs, part of which came from a home run given up. Where are you at on Baz? Because, like, we know that he has been much better. He was much better in the first month of the season than he's been in the last month so far. But are you seeing a rebound? He's at Boston, at the Mets, which are 2 tough matchups, but at least not in Tampa.
Yeah, I don't think I can do it unless I was just super desperate and I needed a 7th starting pitcher and I didn't have a better option. Then maybe I would, because he has kind of righted the ship these last couple starts. But like you said, it wasn't that impressive, really. The thing that gets me is that a lot of the bad starts this year have come against bad offenses. Miami got to him for 5 earned runs, 7 by Kansas City. I don't really know what to make of him at this point. I think he's better than what we have seen as a whole. Like, he's not a 4.96 ERA pitcher, but I think he's a guy for the time being where I kind of want to pick my spots with him. If I'm looking forward and I'm not looking at the schedule, but if he does have like White Sox or something coming up in a couple weeks, that would be something that I would want to do. If it's some of those more softball matchups, Boston and New York is pretty tricky. Like I mentioned, Boston earlier has kind of been okay, 104 WRC plus. The Mets are a top 5 offense. That scares the crap out of me with Shane Baz. If you have no better option and he's your last guy in your lineup, maybe, but I would try and steer clear if you can.
So, unfortunately for him, his start the following week will be home versus the Tigers.
Oh, man. Brutal.
So, let me rephrase the question then. If you're in a 10 or a 12 team league and you still have Shane Baz on your roster, are you just dropping him?
In a 10-teamer, I wouldn't mind it. There are so many goodies on a 10-team waiver wire. 12 is probably a little more dicey. I would prefer to just bench him, but in those super shallow formats, there's so much goodness that is sitting out there.
I think you should drop him at 12. Like, I mean, you're not going to use him for this 2-start. You're not going to use him home versus Detroit. He then goes then he would likely go, let's see. Let me make sure I get this right. So if he's there, then he's going to be there. Then he'd be at Kansas City the following week.
I don't know. You're going to have to wait until
I think I drop him and then I try to pick him back up for Kansas City.
Yeah, if you really want him, but we're talking about 3 weeks, you're gonna have to wait on him. I think I agree with you. Even in a 12, he's probably a drop. Unless you're first place and you can afford a stash or two, then I think you can move on.
Yeah. I mean, with the amount of injuries we had this week to pitching, all of a sudden I was looking at one of my team that was in first place in one of my auction championship leagues that is already down Imanaga and now down Max Meyer and Pablo Lopez, and I'm like, oh god, this is going to be brutal.
On top of the injuries too, so many blow up starts. Like holy crap, Luzardo! I got double Luzardo.
I traded Luzardo in a dynasty league during that start. Like somebody had sent me a trade offer and I hadn't looked at it yet. And like I was watching the start and I was like, oh, that's right, I got that trade offer for Luzardo. And I just went and I was like, yeah, I'm taking this. I'm getting Luzardo.
During the first start or the second start?
The second start.
Oh man, that guy probably hates you.
Sorry.
I had an online championship where I was second in the league, top 400 overall. And now I'm 7th in the league and barely in the top 1,000. So thank you, Jesus. Thank you for your contributions.
Yeah, that was a brutal start. And it's a good question because I need to like go and do a deep dive on Luzardo. Do you think? And we were having this discussion a little bit in the Sleep on the Bus Discord. Do you think that this is injury, or do you think he's tipping pitches, or just a run of bad luck?
I think you don't usually see a pitcher who is this good get absolutely destroyed in consecutive starts like this that often. Like you'll see one bad start and it happens to everybody, but 2 in a row to this degree, it's not like we're talking it was 4 or 5 earned runs, 20 of them in 2 starts. It leads me to think there's got to be something wrong. Either he was tipping his pitches or there is some kind of injury. His next start is scheduled against the Cubs, and I would bet, especially considering the Phillies have options, that he's not making that start. He's going on the IL with something. There's going to be some kind of phantom IL stint, and they're going to sit him down for a couple weeks and try and get him right.
Yeah, because I mean, he went from a guy who was getting like over 30% O swing to the last 2 starts, 21% and 11% in this last start. Just giving up a crap ton of contact. I feel like there's something wrong, and the problem with Luzardo is there's always something wrong with him physically, right? So
yeah.
It's really, really kind of scary. And that's one of the reasons why I was like, you know what? I thought about like countering this trade offer this guy had offered me. And like, maybe I could try to get a little bit better prospect or something like that. Cause I am kind of towards the end of a rebuild. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna like give him the opportunity to just say, no, I'm going to move on after, I'm just taking this and running with it. So
I don't even know what you got, but I think you made the right decision.
I got Edward Carrero.
Nice.
And Jacob Melton and McLean from the pitching prospect from the Mets. So I felt like that was a pretty damn good haul for, plus, a lot of my prospects have graduated and no longer can be stashed as prospects in the Dynasty League. So I need to rebuild the farm a little bit. It's top heavy. I've got Roman Anthony and Spencer Walcott and stuff like that, but the bottom end of it's pretty ugly with guys that you've never heard of and I've never really heard of. So, all right, let's keep it going. And we'll move over to Jose Barrios. Remember when everybody after that first game of the season was like, "Oh, Jose Barrios is cooked. You shouldn't see. This is why you don't draft Jose Barrios because he got absolutely shellacked in that first start, giving up 6 earned runs on 9 hits and 2 walks versus the Orioles on opening day. However, since that game, right, if you just cut off that first game of the season, a 3.17 ERA, 65 strikeouts in 71 innings, Barrios has been kind of Jose Barrios-ish, a guy who is a really, really stable middle of your rotation guy. Are you just firing him up this week at St. Louis and at Philadelphia?
I'd prefer to not, if possible. St. Louis and Philly have both been pretty good offensively. Excuse me, 10th and 11th for the season as a whole in WRC+. Barrios, I think he's pretty good. I think that he is a serviceable option a lot of the time, but this is kind of a tricky 2 starts for him. And if he did get blown up in both of them, it wouldn't necessarily shock me. There's also part of it that is I'm just a Blue Jay fan that doesn't really like the team. I know they've been doing good over the last couple of weeks. I probably view them with more of a wet blanket than I probably should, but the whip isn't great. The strikeout rate isn't great. I don't think that he is great at missing bats anymore. 10% swinging strike rate. I think that if you have not many better options, then he'd be fine, but it's more of a 15-team play than a 12-team play for me.
What if I told you that over the course of the last 2 weeks, St. Louis and Philadelphia have been 21st and 24th in OPS?
That's pretty bad. You got to look at recent trends, of course, but I don't know. There's something in my gut that just tells me this is not the time to start Barrios.
This is fan hating themselves right here. Like
it might be.
Barrios has been great. Yes, he is not the superstar we thought he was going to be at one point, but he is just a super reliable innings eater that has continued to just crush things over the course of the entire season. If you cut that one start out and his numbers look really, really good. Obviously, you can't just cut that one start out because, that's part of the overall profile. But at the end of the day, I think Barrios is a guy that you can pretty much easily put into your 12 teams and some 10-team lineups and just roll with. I get you being a fan and being like, oh no, doom and gloom, the world, Chicken Little running around like the sky is falling. But at some point you got to just say, hey, dude, this is a set it or forget it kind of guy.
I'm a self-loathing Blue Jays fan, so there is definitely a part of that factors into it. I think you maybe talk me into being a little more comfortable with it, but I think if it's a 10-teamer, I couldn't. Like 12s and beyond, okay. Especially given the recent trends of the offenses, I think you talked me into it there. But he's always, the last few years, just outperforming his expected numbers, his xERAs, his FIPS, his xFIPS, whatever it is. He's always seems to be kind of just skating by, and I worry that not that he's going to get Luzardo'd necessarily, but there's just something. I don't know if it's the barrel rate, whatever it is. I don't view him the way you do. I think you like him a lot more than I do.
All right. Christopher in the chat asking if he should sell on Joe in his fantasy leagues before he ends up on the IL again. Joe is podcast Buxton. Absolutely. I think you should.
Get me the hell off of your teams. Get a pick back. Get something back, because right off the IL, you might get a week or two, but there's going to be something coming around the corner. It always is.
And he's playing hurt. He's, he's actually, he came back early just to try to contribute, but he's still banged up here. So
got the walking boot.
There you go. Sean Burke, who's kind of been up and down this season and obviously pitches for the White Sox. The White Sox are heading to Houston and to Texas. Any interest in Sean Burke?
No, sir. No, sirree, Bob. I don't think he's ready yet. I thought that he was ready. Last year we got some nice little glimpses over his 19, 20 innings, but the strikeouts are just gone. Like he had a 29% strikeout rate over his 3 starts, 4 appearances last year. It's down to 17, double-digit walk rate. He's not polished enough yet for me to throw him out there.
I think if he was on almost any other team in baseball, he would be in the minor leagues right now, and I think that's probably where he should be. He needs more seasoning. I do think the future is bright on a guy like Burke, but I agree. I don't think he's ready right now. And being on the White Sox means you have 0 win potential to begin with. You add in the fact he's not striking out anybody. Strikeout rate right now at 17%, walk rate at 11%. Just not worth it. All right, let's talk about maybe someone who's a little bit more interesting. Luis L. Ortiz is kind of outpitched what I thought he was going to do. I was a huge Ortiz fan when he was in Pittsburgh and first coming up. I was like, oh, this guy's got really, really good stuff. And he's shown that really, really good stuff. The problem is he walks everybody. So far this season, he has a 12% walk rate, but he does have a 25% strikeout rate. It's a 4.02 ERA in 65 innings. Cleveland is home versus Cincinnati, and then they're going to head to Seattle. Where are you at on Luis Ortiz for this week?
Yeah, I don't mind starting him. I'm probably going to start it myself in a couple of 15 teamers. The command is worrisome. The hard contact is kind of worrisome as well. 50% hard hit, 10% barrel rate. I think I would kind of just hold my nose and do it. Um, the weird thing with Seattle is that they have been a lot better offensively this year. Even like at Seattle last year was like a gift from God. Anybody, it hasn't been quite as good this season. But I think he's still probably a start in most formats. The strikeouts have been good. I think both starts do give him some kind of opportunity to get a victory, specifically against Cincinnati. I would do it. He's not my favorite option. I'm not going to write him up or anything, but I think he's a solid play.
Yeah, I think he is a guy that in 15 team leagues I might do, right? And 10s and 12s, probably not. Seattle has quietly been dreadful offensively recently.
Have they?
Yeah, I mean,
I've been on the shelf, so I'm kind of a little out of the loop.
They are 27th in baseball in OPS over the last 30 days.
Wow.
So, like, yeah, the only teams worse offensively than Seattle has been over the last month are the Giants, the Pirates, and the Rangers. And yes, I did not mention the fact that the White Sox and the Rockies are ahead of the ahead of them, Seattle, in OPS over the last month. That Seattle, remember in Seattle, I was like, oh, where'd this offense come from? Well, I think we've seen the offense isn't real, and they just started off really, really damn hot. This is they've cooled down. I think I would take a shot here on Luis L. Ortiz in 15 team leagues. You're at least going to get strikeouts, and that is enough where I'm going, hey, like, maybe I sneak a win or two, I get some strikeouts, and hope that he doesn't get blown up. Going to Seattle, you're in that really, really good park to kind of protect you. So, and going up against an offense that is sputtering right now. So I think Ortiz might even take the gamble to 12s if there are kind of limited options there.
Yeah. One interesting thing that I'm looking at because the park factors in Seattle, I had looked at them earlier in the year and I knew that they were kind of playing up a little bit. It's not crazy. Like it's 95 this year. It was like 91, 92 last year, but the home run factor, if you just isolate this season, which might be too small of a sample size, but it's the sixth best home run factor in the majors this year. It's wild.
I don't know how they factor all that stuff. So, like, how much is that is Seattle's hot start, and then how much of that is Seattle's pitching not being as good too, right? Like, their pitching last year was some of the best pitching we've ever seen from a full team rotation, and this year it has not been that because of injuries and then just underperformance. And like I said, I don't know how they factor that kind of stuff in. So, but or if they even factor it, they may not, factor in at all. So I should probably know. I'll put that on my off-season reading list of figuring out.
We should both know this by now.
Yeah, I absolutely should know this. So scream at me in the comments or tweet at me or whatever and teach me how that stuff works. All right, Sawyer Gibson Long, who was like everybody's favorite sleeper a few years ago, got hurt, had to get Tommy John. He has made his way back. Right, he had his first start of the season, didn't go very well, but he's got a 2-start week this week. He's at Baltimore, and then he's versus Cincinnati. He's got that Tigers offense behind him. I never trust these guys coming off of TJ, but in a deep league, are you going with like Sawyer Gibson Long?
Yeah, I don't mind him at all in a deep league. I was talking about him with Kevin earlier. I think that he is a solid option just based on the matchups alone. His first start back was not great, 3 2/3. Didn't really stand out much there. But he was really good before he got hurt. He's put up together some good numbers in the minors even this year. I'd be willing to take the chance in deeper leagues. If you have a better option, obviously don't play him. But I think a lot of people in 15s are probably scrambling for pitching right now. And I think Sawyer Gibson Long is a pretty solid option that's available, I would imagine, just about everywhere. Yeah, he's 0% in the OC right now. So I think there's going to be some decent bids on him this weekend.
Yeah, I don't think I'm starting him. I don't know how deep he's going to be able to go into games, right? And I think if I'm picking him up in a deeper league, it is a pickup and stash kind of play. And the hard part is how many deeper leagues can you actually afford to do that in? This is very similar to the Richard Fitz discussion that Paul and I had last week, right? Where, I said, like, I want to pick him up, but I do not want to start him. And it ended up being the right call. And I did pick him up and I stashed him in a few leagues. And I'm kind of glad I did, because now I can replace all the guys who got injured this week on my roster with, or at least one of the spots with Fitz. But I need to see more from him. I mean, this guy has not pitched really at all since like 2023. And while he did pitch well in the minor leagues, and the most important thing for me is in the minor leagues, he had a 3.2% walk rate, right? So Eric Gibson Long was not walking guys. And the one thing that we're looking for with guys coming back from Tommy John is command and control. Can you command and control those pitches? He did a good job in that first start, in spite of the fact he got beat around. And then he did well in the minor leagues. So that is intriguing enough for me to pick him up. But I don't know that I want to be throwing him in my lineup this week, because I think there's potential you get another like 2 4-inning starts, gives up a couple runs, and all of a sudden, what did you really get out of him?
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. That's totally fair pushback. I kind of was just invested before the year, not really before this season, but like you said, like I've kind of been interested in him for a little while. So part of it might just be the excitement of getting to put him in there for a 2 start with some decent matchups. But the safer play might just be to leave him on the bench and stash him until we know he's fully able to go 5-6 innings.
And I think this is a week where like there's a lot of interesting guys that you might be able to pick up off the wire. So
yeah,
I think I'd rather, like, if I could stash him, I would, right? If I could do the Dick Fitz stash that I just did, I would do that. But in leagues where you're pretty much picking up a guy to play, I don't think that Sawyer Gibson Long is the dude this week.
Okay.
All right. Here's an easy one. Chris Bubich versus New York versus the Athletics. Both of these are at home. Instant start.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, he's just been so good. I do worry about Bubich like long term in terms of like how many innings will he throw.
Yeah.
We're getting to a point now where he's at 75 innings. He's never thrown more than 150 innings or 130 innings at the major league level. So we're kind of a little or over halfway to that point. But I think it's one of those things where you just keep starting him until he gets hurt or falls apart, right?
Yeah, Paul and I talked about it yesterday. Paul's pretty optimistic that they're going to just let him throw. The projections that we have rest of season kind of vary from 60 some odd to about 110 innings rest of season. I don't see him reaching the high end of that. I think they're going to be more careful with him, especially if we get to mid-August. And if the Royals are still sitting in 4th place in the division, I don't think that there's much reason for them to run him out there for 6-7 innings every 5 days in September. He might get, to use the phrase I used yesterday, he might get crocheted, where you get 3 or 4 inning little outings here just to keep him fresh, without him actually being much of an asset down the stretch.
What's the chance they trade him? He's ARB eligible after this year, and he only has 2 more years of control. If they're 8-9 games out at the deadline, shouldn't they trade Chris Bubich?
I don't think so. I mean, they're a team that's probably not too far away from being competitive. They were really good last year. I think they're probably going to want another arm behind Reagans that they can really rely on, because the rest of that rotation is kind of old.
Noah Cameron.
But Noah Cameron is like a screaming sell high, I think. I think that he's gotten he has a 99% strand rate, 148 BABIP. The strikeouts haven't come. I don't know if that's just, it's his first 5 starts, the strikeouts are going to come, or if he's going to have a significant dip from what we saw in the minors. He was a 28, 30% strikeout rate guy. I don't know how much I trust him at this point. I think that he's gotten really lucky to have the results he has so far. And if we're talking like a redraft trade league, I would be trying to trade Noah Cameron. For the long term for the Royals, it's interesting. But Lugo 36, Waka 34, Lorenzen going to be 34. If I am the general manager, president of baseball operations, whatever, I would probably hold on to Bubich unless they are getting a stupid offer for him.
I think they would get a stupid offer.
They probably would. But.
And like you're talking about a guy who's 27, going to be 28 years old. You only have 2 more years of control on him, and you could probably get a haul at the deadline. I don't know. I think I might. We'll see. We'll see if it happens. They've got to completely fall out of it though.
So to the Dodgers, I'm not a great minor league guy, But do the Dodgers trade Dalton Rushing for him and give them the Salvi Perez replacement and maybe throw another piece on there? I don't want to see it, and I know you don't want to see that, but
I don't want to see that at all because I don't want to see the Dodgers. But I mean that seems like the right kind of deal. Like if they could get like, and maybe it's not even Rushing, but like if they could get like, I don't know, a reclamation project in Bobby Miller and like a couple interesting prospects, like I think
maybe.
I mean we have to remember like this is a team that traded for Cole Reagans, right? Like they know how to do a reclamation project, so like
That's true.
It's
just tough when you got a 27-year-old pitcher like Bubich who has been so good, a lefty at that. I think they need to be.
It's the Royals. They're not going to sign him long term. Like if I had some faith that like the Royals would be like, well, yeah, we're going to give you a 4-year deal, or like we're going to buy out the rest of your ARB on a 6-year deal, so we're going to extend you 4 years past your current deal, and. Yeah, but they're not going to do that. They're the Royals.
They're probably not. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So, like, why not cash in on that now before the potential that he gets hurt again?
Yeah, that's totally fair.
All right. Of course, we're talking about trade stuff when we should be just talking about 2 starts. Let's talk about another 2 starts. Zebby Matthews, home versus Texas, and is going to head to Houston. All of a sudden, they're letting him face the lineup more than twice. So. And I mean, yes, the surface numbers have not been good, but the underlying numbers, they're sexy. Are you starting Zebby Matthews this week?
Yeah, Rocco Baldelli hates all of us, but
yes.
it looks like he is opening up what he's willing to let Matthews do a little bit. If you look at the last couple starts, he let him go 7 innings. I couldn't even believe it. 7 and 5. Like you mentioned, if you're looking at the surface stats, 5.21 ERA, 147 WHIP are ugly. But all of those ERA estimators are in the low 3s. I love Sierra. That's 332, 308 on the FIP. I mean, the strikeout minus walk rate is more than 20%, and 20% is usually the line of greatness. 8% barrel rate, you can live with it. I would start him. I would feel pretty okay about starting him. It's not the easiest matchups. It's not the toughest matchups. Texas hasn't been great. Houston has kind of figured things out, but I would start him here pretty much everywhere. I mean, maybe 12, it's a little bit more of a question if you have a better option, but in most cases, I'm starting him.
I think you have to start Zebby versus the Rangers. The Rangers have been absolutely atrocious this year offensively. Now, they may be starting to come out of it here. Simeon had a 2-home run game yesterday, which put a smile on my face. I actually did put him back in my lineup for this week. So I didn't see it hit my bench, but they have been the worst offense in baseball according to OPS over the last 30 days. So like if you're not starting Zebby against them, when are you starting? Now, Houston is better. Obviously, they've been much better offensively. They've been the 7th best team in OPS over the last 30 days. But I think you start him against Texas, hope he goes 5, gets you a bunch of strikeouts and the win, and you pray that he doesn't get crushed or BABIP to death in Houston. So I think you're starting him in just about every format.
Yeah, that's no qualms here, none at all.
What about Jeffrey Springs? Every time we think he's starting to figure it out, he's starting to get it together, he does something to make us pay for that thought process. So far this year, Jeffrey Springs has thrown 67.2 innings with a 4.66 ERA. Both these starts on the road, though, at the Angels, at the Royals, 2 teams that, you did mention that the Angels have been better as of late, but 2 teams we're not necessarily afraid of offensively away from Sacramento, which everybody pitches terribly in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Would you roll with Jeffrey Springs this week?
I don't think I could. He's just so volatile. Like you said, right when you think he's starting to right the ship, boom, 6 walks, 6 earned runs. He's been so mediocre. The strikeouts haven't been there. The walks have been pretty bad, more than 10%. I couldn't do it. I would have to be really, really desperate to do it. Like we mentioned about the Angels, they've been better. Kansas City doesn't scare me, but I would need to be pretty desperate. I would need to be pretty desperate here.
I think in 15 teamers, you're probably going to have to, and I know I'm going to have to in 15 teamers, which is unfortunate for me. But I tend to agree. Like, if you look at like the splits on Jeffrey Springs, yes, he has been much better on the road, but it's not like he's been amazing on the road. He's a 3.86 ERA. That's fine. That's 28 strikeouts in 35 innings. That's not great. He just got absolutely torched in Toronto. Like, yeah, so like it's not like you can accurately predict when he's going to be good and when he's not, just because he's at home or versus the road. That being said, I think in 15 teamers, it's really hard not to throw a guy like Springs, especially in two matchups that you're not really afraid of.
Yeah. If you're desperate, I guess it's okay. I won't feel good about it. Let's put it that way. If he's in my starting lineup at any point next week, I'm not going to feel great about it.
Yeah, no, I won't feel great about it either, because he definitely will be in a few of my 15 team lineups, especially with the injuries I've faced this week. What about Ryan Gusto? Gusto is going to be in a set of matchups that include the White Sox, great, and the Twins, not so great, but he's had kind of an up and down debut, 43 innings, 4.78 ERA, but over strikeout an inning, 45 strikeouts in that 43 and a third. Any interest in Gusto?
His command scares me a little bit. A lot of 2 and 3 walk games, but there was that one horrible start where he allowed 7 earned runs. And outside of that, he hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any appearance. He has been pretty decent. The stuff is about average. I've had higher expectations for him, but honestly, if you just isolate that one bad start out of it, it hasn't been too bad. Given the matchups, especially the White Sox, I think I'd be willing to roll with him here in some 15 teamers. Probably not in 12s, but in 15 teamers, I think I would.
I think the hard part for me is he just hasn't gone deep enough in games to win. And that's the part that scares me, because like the reason you stream against a team like the White Sox is obviously to get some strikeouts and hopefully you got a better matchup, so you're getting good ratios, but it's really to get that easy W. Yeah. Problem is Ryan Gusto has not gone deep enough into a game to win it since April. April 23rd was the last time he went 5 innings. That's so I think for me, I'd rather start like Jeffrey Springs here. Like, I just don't think there's enough upside to warrant the downside.
Yeah, him and Springs is interesting.
I don't think it's particularly close. Like, no, I don't think it's close at all.
Springs just scares the shit out of me, man. I mean, they both do to some extent.
At least Springs will go 5 and have an opportunity. Now, I will say the A's have only won 1 game in like their last 20-something games.
It's really bad.
It's like I saw a stat yesterday. It was like they're like 1-19 in their last 20 or something like that. So like maybe the win potential isn't really there just because the A's have been so bad. But
yeah,
I still think it's better than. I mean, if Gusto can't go 5, you can't get it. You 0% chance of a win.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think maybe it Springs by a hair. Neither one of them you're going to feel great about. But I think you talked me into Springs over Gusto.
All right. Well, let me see if I can talk you into this next guy. You say Kikuchi.
No chance.
Kikuchi, another one of these guys that early on in the season, people were all like, well, should I just drop Kikuchi? And I was all like, no, you're not dropping Kikuchi. Like, this is what you paid for. You paid for a guy that you're not going to know, like, when he's going to be good, when he's going to be bad. But, damn, he has been really good since the month of May. Yusei Kikuchi, since the month of May, has thrown 38 and a third innings with 35 strikeouts, a 2.35 ERA. He's still walking way too many guys, and he's walked a crap ton over the last 4. But he's making it work. Are you just starting Yusei Kikuchi matchups this week? Home versus the Athletics, who, like I said, been terrible recently. And then they're going to Baltimore.
He's been such a whip killer. He's just been like 3.23 ERA, but with a 1.6 whip. Like the strikeouts haven't been there this year. The ERA, that's the disconnect with him, is that looking at the ERA, it's like, oh well, he's been pretty good. But that whip is just absolutely atrocious. I feel like that alone with the strikeouts and probably not great win potential, not terrible. Athletics, maybe they get the win. Baltimore, maybe they do. But I don't trust him. Like, he's walked in the last 3 games. We're looking at 5 walks, 4 walks, 4 walks. I can't. I just can't do it. I know Jeff wrote something about this the other day with Kikuchi. I think it was, the title was something to do with Kikuchi, and it had to do with like where your ERA and WHIP should be relative to one another. And his WHIP indicates like a 5.6 type of ERA. Like, I don't trust him as far as I could throw him. I know the ERA has been good, but I can't do it, man.
I mean, I think you have to just roll with him here. Like, you're getting the Athletics leaving Sacramento, who are really, really struggling. Now they're not struggling offensively, so maybe now I'm going to talk myself out of this actually right here. I was going to say you have to start him, but I don't know if you do. In 15-team leagues, I think you have to start him. So I think we're really talking about 10s and 12s. And I think a 12 is a maybe, a 10 is a no. I think you should have a better option in a 10-team league.
I hope so. Yeah.
But oh man, it's really tough. He doesn't give up home runs, right? Like he's given up 4 home runs over the course of the last 7 starts. But Kikuchi just walks so many guys. Like you mentioned, 18 walks over the last 4 starts for Kikuchi. Like, that is just so high. And at some point, it's going to come back to bite him. He's just stranding too many guys. It's just not going to be sustainable. So if you could sell high on Kikuchi, because a lot of people don't look at WHIP, they just look at the ERA. Would you sell high right now on Kikuchi?
Get whatever you could for him, personally. I think he's bad this year. I think he's just downright bad. And maybe I'm overstating it, but the swinging strikes are gone. They've always been in the 12-13% range. It's down to 8. More contact in the zone. The O swing has gone from 28 to 20%. They're not being fooled by anything outside of the zone. This is a guy who got Cy Young votes last year. He was so great once the trade happened in Houston. He was fantastic. And even in Toronto, he started to turn things around. But he looks like a different guy this year. It's like he's lost all the gains he's made over the last couple of seasons.
It's interesting, too, because there has been a big pitch mix change. He's gone from a guy who's throwing 47% fastballs to 37. He's really like leaning into that slider, 38%. It was 23% last year, and pretty much stopped throwing the curve, down from 18% down to 10%. Like you almost wonder, like, why aren't they just duplicating exactly what Houston did last year?
I don't know. His stuff is down too. 10
stuff
points.
Is down. Yeah, stuff is down huge.
Yeah, He makes me nervous. Like, watching him in Toronto, I did see a lot of growth over those years when we first got him from Seattle. I think he actually might have made an all-star game in Seattle. There were times when he was good, but he really seemed to figure things out in 2023, stumbled a little bit at the beginning of 24, and then did correct course. And it just seems like he is, like you said, why aren't they just doing the same things? Why are they trying to mess around? The Angels pitching lab thinks they can improve a guy. Like, give me a break, man.
Tyler Anderson experiment right here, right?
God.
All right, that's Kikuchi. We're gonna move on and talk about Logan Gilbert, my dude. Right, I had him as my number 2 starting pitcher coming the year. Of course, injury has derailed that, but he is coming back. The problem is he's coming back in his first start. Logan Gilbert has to face the Arizona Diamondbacks, and then he's gonna face Cleveland. He's at Arizona, home versus Cleveland. Are you just straight up starting Logan Gilbert as soon as he's available, or are you going to kind of wait and see and let him kind of get these first 2 starts under his belt?
No, I'm starting him. I'm starting him. I got him in my OC that Luzardo destroyed, and I also lost the Evaldi, and I lost the Imanaga, and that's a specific case. But I think a lot of people are probably dealing with a couple of pitching injuries. To see Logan Gilbert, who, on a pound-for-pound basis, is arguably the best pitcher in baseball. Tariq Skubal probably has something to say about that, but Gilbert's on a very short list. I'm starting him. Unless you are just so flush with pitching, unless you got Bubic and you got hit on all these late guys and you really have the luxury of not needing it, then maybe you sit him, but I'm starting him everywhere I have him.
Yeah, I think I am too. And I'm usually the guy that says, like, don't start guys coming off the IL, but you're going to start from what is ostensibly your number 1 pitcher coming into the season. I think you have to start him just about every format. My question is this, though. You know me, I hate pitching injuries, even though I love Logan Gilbert. If he goes out and throws 2 good starts, they don't have to be amazing, but just good starts. Are you selling him?
Well, the thing that worries me is that in his last rehab start, by the end of it, he was sitting like 90, I want to say 93 on his fastball. He started around 96, 97, and he really was not able to maintain that velocity. It has been down before the season as well. He was 96.6 last year. He's down at 95.5. So that'll be something I keep a close eye on. If I'm seeing him back up in the 96 range and he's performing well, I wouldn't mind holding on to him. If we see him 93, 94, and he's able to just get through and he's able to give you 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts type of deal, and you're able to spin the narrative of Gilbert's back, top 5 pitcher, when there are some concerning signs still, that's when I would look to move him. It's all about the fastball velo for me with him.
I think the hard part is like, and I'm very much a believer in like kind of sunk cost theory, right? Like, what you spent on a guy, it really doesn't matter in terms of a trade. Yeah. The problem is, unless you are that guy that you were mentioning before that hit on, Bubic and Robbie Ray and all these other guys that like really popped off this year, you probably don't have the depth at the top of your starting pitching to trade a guy like Gilbert for 75 cents on the dollar, which is what you probably have to still do, even if he goes out and throws 2 good starts. So yeah. I think I'm probably just holding 2, but I am nervous. I'm really, really nervous.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the best, but like you said, it's tricky. Like I don't want to sell him, but if I do see the velo continuing to struggle behind, then I feel like that might be the time to get out from under him. If you see one really good start with a reduced velo, I think that would be the time to move from him. But like you said, like you kind of need that pitching probably. You took him as your number 1 starting pitcher. Unless you're getting another pitcher back, and a lot of people don't like to trade like that. But if you are able to trade him for another elite type of arm, then that's probably the conversation you should be having after that start.
Yeah. Jack Leiter has quietly been really, really good this year. 51 and 2/3 innings, a 3.48 ERA, a 1.16 WHIP in Texas. Not a ton of strikeouts, which has been, a little bit surprising, but he's been pretty serviceable. Are you starting him this week in a 2-start? He's at Minnesota, not great, but then home versus the White Sox, a pretty easy way to get a win.
Yeah, no problem. No problem starting him there. The strikeouts, like you mentioned, haven't been what we wanted. The walk rate is a little bit too high as well at 11%. But I think with him, he's still just kind of figuring things out. And in the time that he has been, quote unquote, like figuring things out, it's still been really good. 3.48 and 1.16 is fantastic. I tend to look a lot at strikeout minus walk rate, and that being in the single digits is not good, but the stuff is phenomenal. 5 pitches that he throws that have at least 100 stuff, and he's 110 overall. I want there to be more swing and miss, but I think that he has really come a long way, even just over the last month or so. I would be willing to start him here pretty much in all formats.
I think so too, especially with the White Sox on the docket. The stuff is really, really good with Leiter.
Yeah.
The problem is like when he misses by a lot. Like it's not close. And this is why like you can have a guy with a 53% zone rate, but not really getting a lot of swings and misses, because when he misses, it's not like, oh, that was a good miss. Like he was trying to get him to chase. No, like it was clearly like 6 inches outside, and they're not swinging at that. They're just spitting on it. So I do think he's a young pitcher that still has some refining to do, but I'm going to bet on this stuff. And I do love the matchup versus the White Sox. Just got to hope he kind of survives at Minnesota. And that the hard part too is the Rangers just aren't hitting, right? And so will they give him enough run support if he is to be ahead at the end of 5? I don't know, but I think you're taking the gamble this week. Definitely over some of the other guys that we've talked about and kind of bemoaned.
Yeah.
Chris Sale, easy instant start, right? I mean, at Milwaukee, and then the worst team in Major League Baseball history, the Rockies, are coming to town. So easy instant start, right?
Yeah, not even a debate.
Okay. All right. Here is a little one for a little bit of a debate. You get the return of Yuri Perez this week that some people have been stashing since drafted. I was in leagues where people drafted Yuri Perez and have been stashing him since then. For the rest of us NFBC players, won't be available for Fab this weekend. But for those of you in Yahoo and ESPN, are you going to run and grab Yuri Perez who's got a pretty damn good 2-start at Pittsburgh and then at Washington this week.
That's the thing. It's about the softest possible landing he could have. So while I'd love to have him in NFBC this week, I have him on the draft and hold team. So I guess I'll stick him in there. I think that you're starting him pretty confidently in every format. Like the command is what we're going to have to watch for, of course. But I'm willing to find out with him in my lineups for these matchups. That's kind of the bottom line for me. It's just it's too appealing. If even one of these starts was a little bit tricky, then I would want to have more of a conversation. But Pittsburgh, Washington, like he's in the lineup for me if you have him.
Man, I think Pittsburgh, Washington is the reason I'm doing this, right? Like I'll take the gamble there just because it is. The hard part is like I just don't know how deep they're going to let him go into games. They've only let him go 5 innings in the minor leagues once out of his 8 starts so far. Now he's been building his way back up, and last 2 starts were 5 and then 4 1/3. So maybe he'd be able to. The problem is walks. He's walked 7 batters in the course of his last 3 rehab starts, all at AAA. And it's command and control with these guys coming back from Tommy John. I'm just going to harp, right? Like, can they control things and actually, put the ball in the zone? And then can they command it within the zone? These guys struggle. People are going to spend a lot of money on Yuri Perez over the course of the next 2 weeks, especially in NFBC world. Like, people are going to remember that Yuri Perez came up as a rookie. I benefited from it, and people spent $300 and he actually panned out. I'm not doing that on Yuri Perez. I don't care if he goes out and throws a complete game shutout versus Pittsburgh this week. I'm not spending $300 on him the next week.
Yeah, I get that. I think with him, like the walk rates before the injury were already in like there was about an 8% walk rate guy. In his rehab starts, 22 innings, he's been at 10%. And the difference there is 2 walks over 100 batters, right? If let's say he's up to 11%, I don't think that kills him just because the strikeouts are so good. Like he is still in these rehabs, he's been a 28% strikeout rate guy. If he is somewhere in that 28 to 10, 29 to 11, 18% strikeout minus walk range, I think he can make it work even with shakier command in ways that other guys maybe can't just because the strikeout rate is so good.
I don't know. I gotta watch it. I mean, this will be one to sit down and definitely watch this week. I love Yuri, and I tried to trade for Yuri in every single dynasty league when he got hurt because I was like, here's a time to buy low. Nobody would throw him to me. Now I'm gonna watch him go just dominate on someone else's team. I'm starting him this week and then I'm reassessing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Speaking of starting him and then reassessing, we have the poster boy for that this year, which I think is Griffin Canning. Griffin Canning this year has thrown 59 innings with a 2.90 ERA and a 132 WHIP. And he has just been so weird to watch. Like he gets himself in trouble all the time and then somehow wiggles his way out of it. This week, Griffin Canning is facing Washington and Tampa, both at home. 2 pretty decent matchups at home. Are you just going to close your eyes and hope that Griffin Canning can continue to wiggle his way out of trouble?
I am, yeah. Like, he's so bizarre. Like, 3 innings against the White Sox, 4 walks, 3 earned runs, 5 runs total, 3 strikeouts. Garbage outing against the White Sox. Next time out, Dodgers, 6 shutty with 7 strikeouts. I mean, that's baseball for you, I guess. But when you're looking at the matchups, considering what he's done as a whole, yeah, the whip's probably not going to be great just based on what we've seen, giving up too many hits. The walks are occasionally a problem, but I am starting him. The thing that I'm wondering about is Manaea is going to be back soon. Is he the guy that potentially leaves the rotation, or is it David Peterson maybe? They're going to run into a problem because their pitching has been so good as a whole. The worst ERA in the rotation is Tyler McGill's 3.77. Either they go 6-man or someone has to leave, and maybe it's Canning if we don't see him put up a couple of good starts here. But I am putting him in my lineup, I think, in most cases.
I almost wonder if it's going to be McGill, and they can put McGill as like a multi-inning reliever. I love McGill. I don't think it should be McGill. I think it should be David Peterson because I think he is the worst pitcher of this group, or Griffin Canning. But I think McGill's stuff plays up better in the bullpen than any of those other guys.
Yeah.
And so now could they go? I think maybe they go 6-man, right? Like,
Maybe.
and then eventually this figures itself out because somebody's going to get hurt eventually, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just the nature of pitching. But if they do decide that they're going to take somebody out of the rotation, I'm going to bet it's McGill just because his stuff would play up so well in that bullpen.
I think, unfortunately, you're right. Unfortunately for my Tout Wars team and a few others, I think that's probably what's going to happen.
I got McGill in a lot of spots, too. I was a big fan. But, he's got a long injury history. They might want to limit his innings, too, anyways. And the bullpen might be the place to do that. So, all right. Next guy up, Mackenzie Gore, another one of these guys who, continues to pitch well. Is he kind of just an instant start at this point?
Yeah, especially when you see one of them is Miami. The Mets start definitely doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies, but he has been so good. I think he leads the entire majors in strikeouts. It might be Crochet at this point, but Mackenzie Gore has 108 strikeouts in 75 innings this year, coming off of a really great start against one of the tougher teams in baseball in the Cubs. 7 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts. Before that, 6 shutout innings, 8 strikeouts, 6 shutout innings, 9. Like he's just been consistently really, really good this year. His walk rate has gone down every year of his career. The whip has even good with Mackenzie Gore this year. Like
that's the crazy thing.
That's the crazy thing. He's been a 1.4, write it in pen before the season. He's going to have a 1.4 whip. He's at 114. I'm starting him and just wearing that Met start, whatever it is. But I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even say he's been lucky. He's got a 341 BABIP when he's a career 326 BABIP guy. Maybe the strand rate's a little bit high, 9% higher than his career. But for the most part, he has really just been really, really good. Yeah, it's going to regress, above a 3 ERA for Mackenzie Gore, but not that much higher, right? I think he's going to be like a 320, 330 ERA guy the rest of the way. And I think he's a must start every week.
Yeah.
Of course, the year I do not buy in on Mackenzie Gore, of course. Speaking about must start, Matthew Boyd, he just continues to roll. Like, I don't buy this to continue going forever, especially at 34 with a plethora of injuries under Matthew Boyd's belt. But a 3.01 ERA in 68 2/3 innings with 70 strikeouts on one of the best teams in baseball in the Cubs. Surprising to me. I did not think the Cubs were going to run away with this division. I think they might at some point here during the summer. Is Matthew Boyd just a straight up start every week? He's got both Pennsylvania teams at Philadelphia and then home versus Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think I'd start him pretty much in any matchups right now, but especially what you mentioned earlier that the Phillies have been kind of struggling recently. Pittsburgh is pretty pathetic offensively, for being honest. And Boyd has been fantastic. I saw Justin Steele talking about him on Twitter the other day. He was kind of like breaking down an at bat or something, and he was talking about how impressed he has been watching Matthew Boyd, and it's hard not to be. I mean, at his age, I don't think anybody was expecting this level of production, especially with the walk rate going down to 5%. He's just been so good. Long story short, he's a start for me.
Breaking news, Shea Langolier is placed in the IL with an oblique strain.
Oh, my God. Jesus.
It just gets worse and worse off, injury-wise. I can't remember. Oh, I think I was on I can't remember the name of the live stream I was on with Jason over the weekend. They asked me, like, what's the story of the season for you? The story of the season is injuries. I was so, kind of shocked about a week or two before the start of the season. I was like, there's really not been very many injuries so far in spring training. And they just all came after that moment. Like, it's been absolutely atrocious injury-wise. It just gets worse and worse.
It's been bad. I did that stream too, by the way. The Ordinary Effort boys, they're good guys.
I think you followed us.
I followed you guys. Yeah. It was the Sleeper in the Bus Power Hour.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's talk about Matthew Boyd's teammate Colin Ray, who has quietly been pretty good himself. 3.59 ERA and 57 2/3. Now the WHIP has not been good at a 1.35, but he's on the Cubs team. It's going to get wins, and he has 4 of them already so far this season in 9 games started. Are you just rolling with Colin Ray here in this same 2-step versus both Pennsylvania teams?
I don't feel nearly as good about it as Boyd, but I'm still rolling with it. Yeah. He's been really serviceable. I think both matchups give him a decent chance to come away with a victory. don't expect the boatload of strikeouts. He's thrown 57 innings and he has 43 strikeouts, but I am starting him here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I am too. 12s, 15s for sure. 10s, he's on the table depending on what my other options are.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a guy that I may just be wrong on. I have been a massive Andrew Abbott hater for the last few years. I just did not think he was a very good pitcher. But at some point, I have to just say, like, hey, the results are there. 53 2/3 innings, a 2.18 ERA this year, along with 59 strikeouts in that time span. He's been really, really good. A 106 whip. I mean, he was a career 130 whip guy coming into the season. Where are you at on Andrew Abbott? Are we just wrong and he's actually good now?
Coming into the year, I would have told you he is exactly like your guy in the Bay there. I would have thought he's another version of Kyle Harrison, the same exact pitcher almost. And he is really, and it looked like Harrison might have been doing some things for a while there, but Abbott has surpassed him. Are we wrong? I think probably we were wrong, and he's developed a lot. Like, he's not the same pitcher he was. Like, we weren't wrong last year. He was giving up a boatload of homers. The strikeout rate was 19%. He wasn't really doing much for you. 130 whip. But this season, the strikeouts are there. The walk rate has remained the same, but, you know, the stuff has gone up a little bit. His swinging strike rate has gone up a little bit. The chase rate's gone up. Zone contact has gone down. A lot of the things we like to see. So the development is there. I still worry if we are talking about rolling him out at home, but you don't have to worry about that this week. Cleveland and Detroit, I am willing to take the chance. Even coming off of kind of a stinker last time out against the Brewers, I think I'm willing to start him here in most cases. Maybe not in 10s, but 12s and 15s, sure.
I mean, he is getting really, really lucky with a 248 BABIP. He's just, you know, and an 89% strand rate. I don't think he's this good, obviously.
No.
But I think he can be serviceable. I think he could be like a mid to high 3s ERA pitcher. And the real improvement for me in terms of the whip, right? Like that whip drop has been great. He's just been a lot less hittable this year. The stuff on the slider is really, really good. I wish he'd actually throw that a bit more because I think his slider is kind of been his best pitch this year. But I think you're rolling with this one, even though it's not great matchups. At least it's away from Great American Small Park. Andrew Abbott, I think you got to roll with him here until we see, you know, some massive regression. We could. Detroit is really, really good offensively, but I don't know how you don't start him right now.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right, Freddie Peralta, instant start for you?
Yep, no question.
Okay, then we're just going to skip right ahead, go over to Mike Burrows, who might be an instant sit, but where are you at on Burrows?
I don't think it's a great opportunity. Let me see the matchups. It is Miami, but then Chicago. So
I think that Chicago one's disqualifying, right?
I think it is. And we're talking about the Cubs, not the White Sox. That's why it's pretty tough. Like, I think that there is a really good pitcher here somewhere. We saw really good strikeout rates throughout the minors, but right now he's been 18% this year. Granted, it's a small sample size. Probably shouldn't read too much into it, but he's given up a ton of homers. He's given up he's given up 3 home runs in those 13 innings already. I don't even need to expand on this. I think he's just a no. I don't think we need to go into too much depth here.
He's just got bad command, and that's what it comes down to. Is just a bad command guy. Like I think that he should be a reliever personally, but Pittsburgh doesn't have the depth in the starting pitching to make him a reliever, so they're just going to roll him out there, and they don't care if they win. Right? They're sucking for a draft pick. So I'm not starting him anywhere, even NL only. So we'll move right along. Move over to his teammate Mitch Keller, who, man, Mitch Keller is just one of those guys that this is why there's the old phrase, there's no such thing as a pitching prospect, because Mitch Keller was that guy that everybody was really, really excited about in Tampa Bay. He was part of the Glasnow trade, and he's just never quite figured it out. But you knew at least every year with Mitch Keller, you were going to get a lot of innings and strikeouts. This year, you're getting the innings, but not really the strikeouts. 4.13 ERA and 76 and a third, but only 61 strikeouts so far this year, and still a bad whip guy at 127, though better than he has been for his career. Where are you at on Mitch Keller in this same 2-star, which got a really easy Miami team at home, but then you've got to go to the Cubs?
No, I think if you're in a daily league and you can just start him for the first one, absolutely. But if you got to lock in that Cubs start, that is not something I want to get involved with. Mm-hmm. The wins he has 1 win this year in 13 starts. At least the last couple of years, 11 and 13. He's been able to get to the double digits. He's 1-8 this year. I mean, the team is just so bad. The pen hasn't been good. The offense hasn't been good. Nothing has been working for this team. I can't imagine he comes away with a win. You already mentioned the strikeouts haven't been there. I would need to be so desperate to start him. I couldn't do it.
It's interesting because if I had told you at the beginning of the season that Mitch Keller was going to have his best home run rate and his best walk rate of his career, you would have been pretty excited, right?
Yeah, I've never been a Keller guy. I really haven't. So I don't know how excited I would have been. But, man, I feel like at this point we're going to keep doing this with Mitch Keller for probably another 3 years where people think, well, maybe this is the year. And we're in year 6 now, year 7. It's not happening, I don't think.
I mean, he's pretty much like Jose Barrios on a bad team, right? Like he's just a middle of the rotation innings eater kind of dude, like who isn't going to kill you, but isn't going to win you any leagues. But he's on a bad team, so he's not going to get wins.
Exactly. Yeah, he's rough. I mean, I don't know that he's worth rostering in any 12-team league. Do you think he is?
Not with the drop in strikeouts. For me, the drop in strikeouts are the big thing. If he was still getting, a strikeout an inning or close to it, I would be totally fine. But we're talking about a guy who is at a 19% strikeout rate now. That if you look at where Mitch Keller was at in 2023, he had a 25.5% strikeout rate. Now, well below 20%. The volume doesn't matter as much if you're not getting those strikeouts to go along with it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Or the wins, right? 1-8 so far this year, like you mentioned.
He's giving you nothing. He's giving nothing.
All right, let's move over to Andre Palente. Do you care about him at all versus Toronto at Milwaukee?
The matchups aren't terrible, but he's just hasn't been providing much. I was kind of interested last year. He had a pretty serviceable season. He had a 3.78 ERA. He was a decent streamer, but I mean, when you're at an 18% strikeout rate, you cannot afford to lose ticks on that. And he's gone from 18.5 down to 15.5. A super desperation play, and even then, I wouldn't really like it.
Yeah, you could just say no. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I want to expand a little bit more because the matchups were decent, but yeah, I don't need to say much. And about the next guy too, I don't think we need to say a hell of a lot.
Well, hold on. Let Miles Mikolas, his teammate, who's got those same matchups, Toronto and Milwaukee. Mikolas has a 3.96 ERA so far this year. No strikeouts. I mean, we're talking a 14% strikeout rate, a 127 WHIP, but Mikolas is doing Mikolas things in terms of like being a useful innings eater. This is like the deepest of deep leagues, right?
Even in a 15, if it's an NFBC,
I don't think I wouldn't.
I couldn't do it.
There's too much risk. He just gives up so much contact. Much contact. And I know everybody who hates his own contact thing, but like he just gives up so much. Like you're gonna get Babbitt to death at some point.
He went through a good run there, and then everybody started to buy into him, but he's not a guy that I can ever believe in, especially at this point. Like he's going to be 37 in a couple months. I don't think there's any situation. Like I would need to see Rockies away, White Sox or something, and then I'd be like, okay, sure, but it would need to be the best of the best matchups for me to want to start him.
Yeah. All right, you guys had a riveting discussion on Merrill Kelly yesterday. That unfortunately, because of some audio issues, had to be cut. So here's your opportunity to talk about Merrill Kelly, who's got a 2-start versus Seattle, who's been struggling, and then versus San Diego, who hasn't quite lived up to their hype as what should be like a much better team than they've been.
Well, they're about to acquire Jarren Duran, according to the rumors, so maybe that does something for them. Although, don't read anything into that because I don't know if that's true or not. But I've heard it talked about at least a little bit. They're going to probably bolster the offense in some way, but it won't be it for this week. And Merrill Kelly, I think he's pretty solid. I mean, we saw him go through some bumps last year that included an injury. He missed most of the year. But for the vast majority of his career, the only time that he's ever been kind of bad was 2021. 2019, he gets a pass because that was the happy fun ball year, his first year back from Korea. But every year, pretty much, you're getting like a mid-threes ERA with relatively decent strikeouts. He's at 24% this year and good whips. Every year, the last 4 years, 114, 119, 117. He's sub 1 this year. He's at 0.99. So, yeah, I mean, everything you've laid out with the matchups, San Diego's not as great as they probably should be, and Seattle doesn't really scare anybody. So, yeah, I'm starting him.
And before people start pointing to the ERA indicators and going, well, look at his like xERA, it's a 404, Merrill Kelly always outproduces his underlying numbers. That's just what he does. He's a good locator in terms of pitcher. He's a pitcher before he is a thrower, unlike most guys in Major League Baseball. And we're talking about a guy who has got a 24% strikeout rate, is the second best of his career, and he's got that Arizona offense behind him. I think this right here is kind of pretty close to a must start versus two offenses that have not been great over the last 30 days. I mentioned Seattle being the fourth worst in baseball. The Padres, they're close. They're the 23rd best team in OPS over the last 30 days. I think these are two really good matchups with that offense supporting you in Arizona that you love. So I'm starting Merrill Kelly everywhere here.
Yeah, and even though he is older, he's in his age 37 season. Well, maybe not because the birthday's a little bit late, but he's 36 and a half. But the Sierras have always been over 4. 4.73, 4.43, 4.01, 4.12. He's at 3.52 this year. So, I think there's something legit here with Merrill Kelly.
Chase Dollander, I think, has a bright future once he gets out of Colorado. But he's in Colorado. Any chance you're starting him this week, Dollander is home versus San Francisco and then at the Braves.
I am not courageous enough. I was going to say I'm not brave enough, but that would have been a poor pun. I'm not courageous enough to put him into my lineups. I don't think he's polished enough yet. Everything has been pretty rough so far. The barrel rate against is 16%. I mean, yes, his stuff is good, and I agree that he has a bright future, but this is not the time to start him.
All right. We go away from a bright future and we talk about a guy who was bright through his entire career, but that light seems to have gone out for Clayton Kershaw, who has absolutely just struggled since debuting this season. Through 4 starts, he's thrown 15 2/3 innings with a 5.17 ERA and a 1.66 whip. He's got San Francisco and San Diego on the docket, 2 offenses that are struggling right now. But is there any way you're starting Clayton Kershaw right now?
I want to say yes because it's Kershaw, but I can't really bring myself to do it. I'd never thought I'd see the day where he has a negative strikeout minus walk rate, but I think he might have overstayed his welcome a little bit. I think they're going to get him to 3,000 strikeouts. He's at 29.76, and then that should probably be curtains for him. I don't think that there's much here. They optioned Landon Knack today. I don't know what the plan is exactly with Glasnow and Snell. We got some kind of rough news on Glasnow a few days ago, but I don't think he should be pitching anymore. I think he should just hang it up. This is kind of a sad way to go out, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you get him to 3,000 strikeouts and he retires at the end of the season. I mean, he's a legacy guy. They're not going to cut him or anything like that. He shouldn't be on any rosters. Even NL only shouldn't be on a roster right now.
Yeah.
The aforementioned Nick Pivetta, he's going to the Dodgers and then at Arizona. Pivetta has been really good this year, but these are 2 really, really tough matchups. Is he an instant start for you just because he's been so good, or are you worried about these matchups at all?
I think if you're in a 12-team league and you have better options, you'd consider it, but I think it would be hard to sit him just based on what we've seen. Now, he is coming off of a bad start. 5 earned runs against San Francisco at San Fran. So maybe there's a little more trepidation there, but I think in most cases it would be pretty hard to sit Pivetta based on what we've seen.
Yeah, I just don't know how you sit him considering what he's done this year. But these are 2 really, really risky matchups. They're when I do my 2-star article tonight, tomorrow, he'll be in the should start tier. Like you should start him, but there is a little bit of a red flag out there that you might be a little wary of. But I just don't know how you don't start Pivetta. He's just been too good. Speaking of being too good, and you probably start him in spite of the matchups, Robbie Ray is going to Colorado which is actually not as scary because Colorado is so bad, but it's still in Coors. And then you're at the Dodgers, the best team in baseball. But Robbie Ray has been amazing since kind of a slow start. I remember people asking me if they should drop Robbie Ray at the beginning of the season.
Wow.
No. Now hopefully you listened and you did not drop Robbie Ray. But any chance you're not starting Robbie Ray at the Rockies and then at the Dodgers?
It makes me a little bit nervous because we know throughout his career there is some volatility there, but he's been on such a great run. The last time he didn't go at least 6 innings was on April 21st. And in that time, he has not allowed more than 3 earned runs. The most walks he had in a game was 3, and that only happened one time. And for Robbie Ray, it happened twice. But for Robbie Ray, that's still very impressive. The walks have always been a huge thing for him, and the strikeouts are there in spades. So he's a guy that I wouldn't be able to bench unless, you're a charmed fantasy player and you had no injuries or anything and you can afford to bench him. But who is that guy? I don't think that guy exists.
Definitely not listening to this podcast, but I think you're starting Robbie Ray in every format. Just fire him up and hope that the bad matchups don't come back to bite him. But he's just been too good this year. I think he is a must start in all formats at the moment. All right, we made it through every single 2 start. Joe, remind everybody to reach out on social media, plug anything you got going on.
Yeah, Joe Orrico 99 on Twitter and at Blue Sky. I don't post on Blue Sky because I just don't have the time and energy to manage 2 social medias. I barely post on Twitter anymore, but I do share out whenever we do a show or a podcast or article or anything. Fantasy Pros, FTN, and hosting the show with you fine fellas once or twice a week.
Yep. You can find me on all social media platforms, Justin Mason FWFB. There used to be like an app where you could like write something, it would post to every single social media app. I missed that. I can't remember what it was called, but yeah, I missed that app. But I'm mostly on Twitter, though I do answer questions at all my social media platforms. So if you ask me a question, I will try to make sure I get to you. And then writing Fantasy Pros, this podcast, right here at Fangraphs, and then the Friends of Fantasy Benefits podcast will start back up again. I need to reach out to Dave and get us rolling back again. So that will wrap us up. For Joe and myself, thanks for listening. Have a fantastic baseball season.